Success is easy to celebrate. Failure is harder to face. And for Maria Shriver, the failures inside her marriage became the kind of pain that followed her for the rest of her life. Years before Arnold Schwarzenegger publicly admitted how badly he had hurt his family, Maria was already standing in front of cameras, carrying a secret weight of her own. In 2003, as accusations against Arnold exploded across the news, she defended him publicly. 16 women had accused him of inappropriate behavior. 16. And Maria looked straight into the cameras and insisted they were wrong. But deep down, she already knew things were not what they seemed. So why did she stay? Why protect him? That answer goes back much further than Arnold himself. Maria was born into American royalty. The Kennedy family. A family admired around the world. Her mother was Eunice Kennedy Shriver, sister to President John F. Kennedy. Her uncles were JFK and Robert Kennedy. Her father, Sergeant Shriver, helped create the Peace Corps and later ran for vice president. From the outside, it looked like the perfect American dynasty. But inside that family, another lesson was passed down quietly from one generation of women to the next. Stand beside your husband. Protect the image. Never ask questions you do not want answered. The Kennedy men were famous for their power, their charm, and their scandals. Affairs, rumors, betrayals. The women learned to survive by pretending not to see them. And Maria grew up watching that happen over and over again. But here's the strange part. She believed her life would be different. When Maria met Arnold Schwarzenegger in 1977, he was still far from becoming a Hollywood icon. He was a bodybuilder from Austria, with a heavy accent and huge ambition. Maria was young, polished, and raised inside one of the most famous families in America. Her mother warned her that Arnold would embarrass the family name, but Maria chose him anyway. To her it felt rebellious, like she was escaping the old Kennedy pattern. Except she wasn't. She had simply chosen a man who carried the same problems in a different package. And the warning signs were there from the beginning. They dated for nearly a decade before getting married. During those years, rumors followed Arnold everywhere. Hollywood gossip spread constantly. Friends warned Maria. Newspapers hinted at affairs. One of Arnold's co-stars was reportedly involved with him while Maria was preparing for their wedding. She confronted him. He denied it, then admitted parts of it, then promised it would never happen again. Maria accepted the explanation because she wanted to. And sometimes believing a lie feels easier than destroying your own future. In 1986, they married in a massive celebrity wedding filled with famous names, expensive gowns, and cameras everywhere. But behind the glamour, Maria quietly made a decision that would shape the next 25 years of her life. She would stay no matter what. She would protect the marriage. She would keep the cracks hidden from the world. But denial only works for so long. Eventually, reality catches up. And when it did, it shattered everything. In 1997, while Maria was pregnant with her fourth child, another woman under the same roof was pregnant too. Her housekeeper, Mildred Boehner, the woman who worked in her home every day, the woman who attended birthday parties, family dinners, and holiday celebrations. Both women were carrying Arnold's children at the exact same time. Christopher Schwarzenegger was born in September. Just 5 days later, Joseph Boehner was born. Same father, same household, same secret. And what happened next almost feels impossible to believe. Maria actually threw Mildred a baby shower. She bought gifts, smiled at her, celebrated the pregnancy, completely unaware that the child Mildred carried belonged to her husband. For 14 years, the truth stayed hidden. Joseph grew up around Arnold's other children. They played together, swam together, shared birthdays and family moments, and nobody said a word. But here's what makes the story even harder to understand. Joseph looked exactly like Arnold. The resemblance became impossible to ignore. Same face, same build, same expressions. Friends started whispering. Reporters started asking questions. By the time Joseph was around 11 years old, people close to the family had already started connecting the dots. So why didn't Maria confront it sooner? Because for decades, she had trained herself not to look too closely. That was the survival skill she inherited, growing up in the Kennedy family. Ignore the signs. Protect the image. Keep the marriage intact at all costs. And once you finally admit the truth to yourself, there's no going back. Your whole life changes in an instant. Maria wasn't blind. She was afraid of what seeing clearly would destroy. By 2011, everything finally collapsed. Maria had recently lost both of her parents. First her mother, then her father. The two people whose approval shaped so much of her life were suddenly gone. And for the first time, she no longer felt trapped performing for anyone else. One day she pulled Mildred aside and asked the question directly. "Here's Joseph Arnold's son?" This time there was no denial, Mildred confessed. Just like that, 14 years of lies came crashing down in a single conversation. Maria reportedly broke down completely. But what destroyed her wasn't only the affair. Somewhere deep inside, she had already suspected Arnold's betrayals for years. What crushed her was the realization that she had silenced her own instincts over and over again. Every strange feeling, every rumor, every moment she pushed aside because facing reality felt too dangerous. She remembered defending Arnold publicly while he was hiding a secret child inside their own home. She remembered standing before cameras in that blue suit, insisting those 16 women were wrong. And suddenly the truth became unavoidable. The biggest lie in her marriage wasn't only Arnold's deception. It was her own willingness to keep pretending everything was fine. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. Maria did not launch a public revenge campaign. She didn't write a vicious tell-all memoir. She didn't drag Arnold through endless interviews or try to destroy his reputation. Instead, she slowly began talking about herself, about denial, about self-deception, about the emotional cost of spending decades protecting a marriage while losing pieces of yourself along the way. In later interviews and books, she admitted the part she regrets most is not even the affair itself. It's that 2003 press conference. At that moment, 16 women had stepped forward, accusing Arnold of inappropriate behavior stretching back years. Maria chose to defend him anyway. She helped preserve his political career, helped him win the California governor's race, helped protect the image of a man she already knew was capable of betrayal. And according to people close to her, that decision still haunts her more than anything else. Because the affair belonged to Arnold. The deception belonged to Mildred. But standing in front of cameras and dismissing those women, that choice belonged entirely to Maria. 3 days after the confession, Maria filed for divorce. But even then, the process dragged on for nearly a decade, one of the longest celebrity divorces in Hollywood history. Eventually, the settlement reportedly exceeded $400 million. Yet even after all of that, Maria focused less on revenge and more on rebuilding herself. She launched projects centered on healing, faith, and starting over. She returned to journalism. She dropped Schwarzenegger from her professional name. Little by little, she began creating an identity separate from the marriage that had defined so much of her adult life. And the boy at the center of the scandal, Joseph Baena, eventually built a relationship with Arnold and with his half-siblings too. Quietly, slowly, imperfectly. Then, finally, years later, Arnold publicly admitted the truth. He called the affair one of the biggest failures of his life. He admitted the pain he caused. He apologized. But by then, Maria's story had become something much bigger than Arnold's mistakes. It became a story about what happens when someone spends years ignoring their own instincts to protect the people around them, because deep down, a lot of people understand exactly what Maria went through. Maybe not with cameras watching, maybe not with headlines splashed across newspapers, but they understand what it feels like to defend someone while secretly doubting them, to smile in public while something inside feels broken, to silence that little voice telling you something isn't right because the truth feels too painful to face. Maria Shriver wasn't foolish. She wasn't weak. She was raised inside a world where women survived by looking away. And for most of her life, she followed that script perfectly. Until one day she finally stopped.